Welcome to the Dark Mysteries Podcast, where we tell dark and mysterious stories. If you like the dark and mysterious, hit that like and subscribe button to help support the channel. Today, we're diving into a truly captivating and pretty unsettling story, the 1928 disappearance of newlyweds Glen and Bessie Hyde.
Right, during their honeymoon trip down the Grand Canyon.
Exactly. And this isn't just, a romantic adventure gone wrong. It's really one of the biggest, most enduring unsolved mysteries of the Grand Canyon.
It really is. It grips you, doesn't it? You've got this young couple just married, and they decide to do this incredibly ambitious, audacious thing.
Especially for the time.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it. 1928, only about 45 people, all men, had ever managed to boat the entire canyon. And they were using, proper rowboats, maybe modified ones.
And Glen and Bessie, they're attempting it in a homemade sweep scow.
A sweep scow. A totally different kind of boat. And, maybe the craziest part, no life jackets.
It's hard to even imagine. The ambition is just staggering. This wasn't some gentle float trip.
Not at all. It's the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Powerful, unforgiving.
And that boat, the rain in the face, he called it. A 20-foot wooden scow Glen apparently built in just 2 days for $50.
Yeah. It shows some ingenuity maybe, but also maybe a bit of underestimation of what they were facing.
Seems likely. Now, our main source for digging into this is Brad Dimmock's book, Sunk Without a Sound, The Tragic Colorado River Honeymoon of Glen and Bessie Hyde. It's really the definitive account.
Dimmock did incredible research. He really pieces together their lives leading up to that trip. Let's start with Glen. Born 1898, he wasn't new to boats.
No, apparently his family did canoe trips way back on the Skeena River in BC. His sister talked about it.
Right, so he grew up around rivers. And then in 1919, he did a pretty serious 6-month canoe trip down the Peace River in Canada with a friend.
6 months. Okay, so he had some real wilderness experience.
Definitely. And then he met this boatman, Harry Gulek, in Idaho. Gulek told him about sweep scows on the Salmon River.
Ah, so that's where the scow idea came from.
Seems so. Glen got fascinated by them, built one himself, and in 1926 took it down the Salmon River all the way to the Pacific. His sister Jean went with him on that trip, too.
So he had handled a scow on a challenging river before the Grand Canyon trip?
He had. But, the salmon is tough, but the Colorado through the Grand Canyon, that's a whole other level.
Okay, so what about Bessie? Her background was quite different, wasn't it?
Very different. Born 1905, more artistic. She was into theater, played Juliet in high school, apparently.
Huh. Yep.
Graduated 24, moved to California, went to art school in San Francisco. She even wrote poetry in an unpublished collection called Wandering Leaves.
Interesting. So how did this artist end up planning such a rugged adventure?
Well, she met Glen on a boat trip to L.A. in February 1927. Seems like they hit it off pretty quickly.
And married the next year, April 1928?
Yep. And it seems the Grand Canyon trip wasn't just Glen's idea. Bessie might have been really driving for it, too.
Why's that?
Well, there was this idea of fame, being the first woman to run the Colorado through the Grand Canyon. That was a big deal.
Ah, okay, so potential renown.
Exactly. Reports suggest she was dreaming of book deals, lecture tours, maybe even vaudeville. It sounds a bit dramatic now, but back then.
It was a path to fame, maybe. A unique one. And Glen, with his skills, probably saw it as cementing his reputation, too.
Very likely. So you have his experience and her ambition kind of fueling each other.
And then he bangs out this boat in 2 days.
Right. So late October 1928, they launched from Green River, Utah, got their supplies, journals, even a bed spring, apparently.
A bed spring for the honeymoon suite, I guess.
Must be. But again, no life jackets. That detail just hangs there.
It really does. So how did the first part of the trip go?
Seemed okay initially. They successfully navigated Labyrinth, Stillwater, and Cataract Canyons. Those are upstream, challenging in their own right, but not the Grand Canyon proper.
Okay.
Then they get into the Grand Canyon, and they make a stop at Bright Angel Creek. They actually hiked out up the South Kaibab Trail to the South Rim.
And that stop is pretty significant, isn't it? They met some key people there.
Hugely significant. They met Emery Kolb, famous boatman photographer, ran the studio on the rim with his brother.
Right, the Kolb brothers. Emery knew the river inside out.
He did. And he apparently offered them hospitality, but also gave them some serious advice. He strongly urged Glen to take life jackets, even offered his own.
And Glen refused.
Refused. Reportedly said something like they could swim anything if they had to. Overconfidence, maybe?
Seems like it could be. Fatal, perhaps.
Yeah.
Did Kolb notice anything else?
Yeah, his later accounts mention that Bessie seemed, well, a bit uneasy, maybe having second thoughts about pushing on. But Glen was apparently determined.
Hmm. And they met someone else down at the river, too, right?
They did. Adolf Sutro, grandson of the famous San Francisco guy. Sutro saw their scow, was intrigued, and actually asked if he could ride along with them for a bit.
And they let him.
Glen agreed. So Sutro rode with them for about 8 miles down to Hermit Creek.
Making him the last person known to have seen Glen and Bessie Hyde alive.
Exactly. After Sutro hiked out at Hermit Creek, Glen and Bessie continued downriver, deeper into the canyon, alone.
So their plan was to reach Needles, California by December 9th.
That was the date. When they didn't show up, Glen's father, Roland Hyde, got worried. Very worried.
Understandably. What did he do?
He didn't waste any time, went straight to Vegas, started organizing search efforts. It was pretty extensive.
Like what?
Well, search parties on the river. He got Native American trackers looking along the rims, and even got the Secretary of War to approve an aerial search.
An aerial search in 1928. That must have been cutting edge.
It was, and it worked, in a way. On December 19th, a plane spotted the scow.
Found it. Where?
Snagged mid-river, river mile 237. From the air, it looked, well, relatively okay, undisturbed, which gave Roland a bit of hope initially.
So finding the boat spurred more action.
Absolutely. Roland teamed up with the Kolb brothers, Emery and Ellsworth. They went down to Diamond Creek, mile 225, where the Kolbs had a boat stashed.
Okay, so they launched from there.
Took them 3 days just to get their boat ready, but yeah, they launched on Christmas Eve, heading upstream towards where the scow was seen.
Christmas Eve. Wow. Must have been grim.
You can only imagine. Then Christmas morning, they found it. The rain in the face. It wasn't snagged anymore, just floating in a calm pool near mile 237.
And what did they find on board?
This is where it gets really eerie. The Kolbs photographed everything, documented it meticulously. Everything was there. Books, diaries, food, clothes, their gun.
But no Glen and Bessie.
No sign of them at all, just vanished.
And the state of the boat suggested? What?
The search party, including the experienced Kolbs, concluded they hadn't just walked away. It didn't look like they'd intentionally left the boat. It pointed towards something sudden, accidental, tragic.
Devastating news to bring back to Roland Hyde.
Absolutely devastating. By New Year's, the newspapers were basically declaring them dead. The story started to fade.
But Glen's father didn't give up, did he?
No. Roland Hyde was relentless. He came back the next winter, searched the rims himself, just desperate for any clue, found nothing.
And that's really where the known facts end and the theories begin.
Exactly. Decades of speculation. Bessie's own father apparently suspected foul play. Maybe even that Glen had something to do with it, though there's zero evidence.
Grief can make you think all sorts of things. What did river experts think?
Well, Norman Neville's, another famous boatman, figured they'd just drowned. A river's powerful. Otis Marston, the river historian, had a specific idea.
What was that?
Marston thought they might have hit a really violent, maybe unrecorded rapid around mile 232. That's just a bit upstream from where the boat was found.
Yeah.
Makes sense, potentially. Sudden capsize.
Plausible. But then things get weirder, right? With people claiming to be Bessie.
Oh, yeah. That adds a whole other layer. The most famous case is Georgie Clark, or Bessie DeRoss. She sometimes went by that name.
What was the connection?
After Georgie Clark died in 1992, and she was a well-known river runner herself, by the way, they found some odd things among her stuff, like Glen and Bessie Hyde's actual marriage license and a pistol.
Whoa. Okay, that sounds suspicious. So people thought Georgie was Bessie, that she killed Glen and lived a new life.
That was the theory. It blew up for a while. Georgie was known to be eccentric. But Brad Dimmick, in his research,
He looked into it.
deeply compared photos of Bessie and Georgie side by side. His conclusion, not the same person. The physical differences were just too great.
So how did Georgie get the license and the gun?
Dimmick reckons she probably just found them or acquired them somehow. She collected odd things. It's more likely than her being Bessie in disguise for 60 years.
Okay, that theory seems debunked. Any others?
There's a strange incident in 1971. An elderly woman on a commercial river trip called herself Liz Cutler. She jokingly told people she was Bessie Hyde and that she'd killed Glen in an argument and hiked out.
Seriously, a joke confession.
Yeah. Caused a bit of a stir, but turns out she was identified later as a psychology professor who apparently liked playing mind games. No real connection.
Just adding confusion to the mystery.
Pretty much. And then there's a skeleton.
Right. Found in Emery Kolb's garage, years later.
Yeah, 1976. People thought, maybe this is it. Maybe it's Glen's remains. Finally, some closure.
But it wasn't.
No. Forensic analysis showed the skeleton was too young, didn't match Glen's description. Just another dead end, and frankly, another weird question about what was going on in Kolb's garage.
So after almost a century, nothing. We still don't know.
Still don't know for sure. They were last known to be around mile 232, just 45 miles or so from the end of the Grand Canyon stretch. What happened in that last section? Drowning? An accident at a rapid? Something else entirely? It's still a mystery.
It really is. And that poem, the one Bessie supposedly wrote when she was young, it's just chilling.
The one about the doll, yeah.
Oh, Mama dear, please come.
Mm-hmm.
My dolly must be drowned. When I put her on the creek, she sunk without a sound.
Wee Betty's eyes filled with tears. Where could poor Dolly be? Perhaps she'd turned into a mermaid and drifted out to sea.
She sunk without a sound. It's incredibly poignant, given what happened.
Eerily prescient,
Yeah.
almost. Just vanished.
Indeed. So now we turn it over to you. What are your theories about what happened to Glen and Bessie Hyde? Did they drown in a rapid? Did something else occur?
We'd love to hear what you think.
We discuss new stories every Monday, so don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Leave a comment and tell stories you think we should discuss in the future. See you next time on the Dark Mysteries Podcast.